I am going live right now on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm recording this on Zencaster all at the same time. So I feel really super meta right now. I just got off an interview actually with Sarah Baldwin. She is a somatic experience and embodied coach. I think it's called embodied coach. Amazing conversation. She's an incredible person and knows her stuff. And we talked about all things somatic experience. It's pretty amazing how much we have to learn and grow. I'm always so excited when I learn something new and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just overcame this, or I learned something that just expanded my thoughts on something else. And then you realize the next thing and then the next thing. And it's like the world just keeps expanding, and like the possibilities and the capabilities that we have keep expanding. And that's exciting. That's so exciting. And as I work through trauma and as I work through different things, it becomes even more exciting to be alive. So if you're feeling apathetic, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling all these things, this is what Sarah said. There's nothing wrong with you. Nothing. It could just be a trauma response that needs to be healed. And when it does, you'll be so happy to want to live again and to be excited about life. And that's something worth going for. And another interesting thing too was that she said most people come to her for the somatic experience treatment after they've done talk therapy, and talk therapy is great, but they feel like it didn't heal them the way that they needed to. It's because they didn't know that it was like a trauma response related thing. And most therapy, they don't know how to handle stuff like that. And so it's really exciting to know there are different ways to heal trauma. And then it doesn't have to just be talk therapy. And so I'm actually interested in checking it out. And even for people that I know who experience trauma, to see if that might even be an option for them. So many good things. And the cool thing is, like, last week I experienced a trauma response that I thought was good. I thought I had gotten over it. I had processed it. It was good. And it happened like 6 or 7 years ago. And it's crazy. So my friend, a really good friend of mine, is being trained in breath work. And she did a session with me to get more experience and told me sometimes people who have experienced trauma, this can bring up that experience again. And so she said, hey, if that happens, just reach out to me. And I'm thinking, I'm good. Like, I've worked through everything. I'm fine. And so sure enough, the next morning after having this session, I literally felt so connected, so clear, so alive. And then the next morning, out of nowhere, a trigger happens. And it was from, again, a traumatic event that happened years ago. And I was so upset with myself. Like, I thought this was done. Why am I feeling this panic, anxiety? Why am I dipping and diving into these emotions? And I started panicking, freaking out. I went to thoughts of like doom and gloom, to fighting back with like, no, I know who I am. And, the positive thinking. And then I would dive again. Like, I just kept ebbing and flowing up and down. And I talked more about how I dealt with it in another podcast episode. It was podcast episode number 65, one way to process and tolerate emotional pain and painful feelings. And that was the moment that I felt like, okay, I got to get away from this environment right now. I got to keep walking and moving. And then I just listened to my body about what it needed. And I truly felt like I released it. And then on top of it, I asked my friend, hey, if trauma has been triggered, what do I do? And so she told me to ask the part of my body where is it hurting? Where am I feeling this pain? And it was in my heart. And then she said, okay, so once you know where it is, ask what it needs to heal and to feel better. And so I sat quietly, and granted, this does not feel good. This does not feel comfortable, because you're literally feeling the effects of a relived trauma experience. And so I said, okay, what do you need to feel better? And I just remember my body saying, love. You need to feel love. And then I said, well, what does that look like? What does love look like? And the answer I got was, just sit here. Just give these feelings space. That's all I need. Which was like, that seems too simple, right? In this world that we are conditioned in to resist, react, to think our way to solutions, to make a plan from A to Z, and to, you know, coordinate and plan and strategize. Like, that did not feel right to me. But then again, you hear stories and like even in scriptures about, God telling people to just look at a staff or to not look back, or like simple things, or to like wash in water, and then people don't do it because it's just so simple. And so that's why I was resisting it. But then I was like, okay, I'm just going to let it sit here. I'm going to let it process. I'm going to listen to what my body's telling me. And it took like an hour or so of just feeling the emotion, crying, like, and then, speaking truths that I knew, and like going through all the toolboxes of things that I've had, right? And figuring out what was the best way to support myself. And I think that is a lot of self-love, is like, what do I need to do to support myself through this, to process through this, not to resist it, not to fight it, not to ignore it, not to push it down again, but let it run its course while also feeling safe, being in a safe place to let it run its course. And so after that, I literally felt like the trauma response left my body. And it was the coolest experience I've ever felt. I've never felt that before. And I've also never felt more exhausted before. The rest of the day, I was just kind of like my whole body, just from that tug of war, had enough. But it was a wonderful learning experience that a lot of times we need to just learn how to go through that cycle of letting experiences happen, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels wrong. Because if you trap it and you let it get stuck and you don't allow it to have the space and the ups and downs that it needs, then that will keep being relived over and over and over until you let it process. So that's so powerful, and something that I'm excited to explore more. I feel more free now. I feel more able to connect to people, to have better relationships. And I know this is only scratching the surface. So I can't wait for you to hear the interview with Sarah Baldwin, because she is just like a wealth of knowledge. Don't want to wait until then. Definitely check out her Instagram. I think I've linked her a few times, but I think it's Sarah B Coaching or something like that. But anyways, definitely something I'm excited to dive into. And it's just so cool how there's so much to learn, so much to explore in the world. And when you're ready for something, that God, source, whatever you want to call it, can bring it to you. And I truly believe in the power of prayer and the power of putting your attention where you want it to go. So if I know before I would pray to know, hey, if I'm feeling anxiety, like, what do I need to do to feel peace again? How do I have night terrors. I've had night terrors since I was like a kid, and I've never outgrown them. And now that I'm married, those night terrors affect my husband, and he can't sleep. Like, I wake him up all the time, and there was nothing like in my life happening to cause it. And so, and obviously it's happened since I was a kid. So I didn't know what was happening. And I truly believe now it was stuck trauma. And now that I understand that, I can't wait to see if continual work in that area can actually help heal this. And I'll definitely keep you posted. But I guess the reason I'm saying all this is because, one, I'm excited. And two, know that whatever you need is out there. And it's on its way to you. If you're just receptive and open and you ask for it, it will come to you in the form of a book, in the form of a conversation, in the form of coming across someone trained in a certain modality that you didn't even know existed. But it's like, that's what I've been looking for. It's all out there. And I know that you can find what you're looking for. And so I hope that you can find peace this week. I hope that whatever you might be experiencing or going through, that you can give yourself the grace and the space and the love to really feel it, and know that it's the human experience. Know that your body it wants to protect you. It's all for you. It's not against you. So these like anxious, fearful reactions is just what it's learned and what it knows, and it wants to keep you safe. So it's really cool to have a body that does that for us. And what we can do in return is allow that body to feel safe in its expression, allow that body to process whatever experience is causing those trauma triggers, and be like, it's okay. We're safe. It's cool. Like, working together and allowing the experience to be different.